Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope you're all doing really well. This is going to be this week's video on, a market rundown. So we're going to go through EU, GEU, and AU. So yeah, we just look to see what happened at the back end of last week and look to see what opportunities we have coming into this next week coming. So starting on EU, you can see clear as day, we had this large impulsive candle up, which was NFP. So that's the non-farm payroll, and you can see a large impulsive move up. Then prior to that, we had this impulsive move down from last week, which left some imbalance. So mainly on this candle here. So we're looking at this as the imbalance. So a lot of selling pressure, and we can also see that we broke structure when we look left. So we broke this low here, and that means that we have this area as a potential area where price may react from, as we are seeing here. So prior to NFP, you can see we put in these lows here, a bit of a corrective move down, making new lows, wicked it, pushed back down. We had equal lows here, and then we can see once NFP came, we impulsively moved up, which was also a move to rebalance this bit of price here. So as you can see, we came to it perfectly, and we also broke structure. So if we just look at where this imbalance started, you can see it was this candle, and you can see price returned back to it perfectly. So it rebalanced. We also broke structure, so we broke these highs here. So for next week, once we see news candles like this, large candles, it's very often that price will come back down to rebalance this bit of price action, but we won't always see it come all the way back down. Sometimes it likes to go to the 50% and then continue. But with that being said, I will be looking for buying opportunities, and first point of reference being this order block here. So we had the last down candle, as you can see. Then we can refine it down to this next candle here, and the key point is we broke structure as well. Okay, so we put in this new low. For me, this is the lower high, as we had this low and we broke this previous low. This didn't make a low, but this is the point we want to see broken to actually class this as a demand level. So we can see that we have this consolidation range, expansion out, breaking structure, last down candle, refined to this. So I'll be looking to get long from here, but if I now drop to the 15, we can see we can refine it. So I will be looking at this last down candle here, the candle just before NFP, and we can see we do have imbalance left as well. Okay, so if you're new, it basically means we don't have any wicks in here, and it's all buying pressure. Okay, so usually what price will do is come back down to rebalance at that wick, or it could go to the 50% before continuing. But especially being a news candle, it's likely we're going to see pushes back down to rebalance before any continuation. So if I just go back to the hourly, there was a selling opportunity, but it wasn't something that I would be taking, especially on after news and it being a Friday. But let me just show you how you can enter. So we have this area here. Now, why is this an area of interest? Well, because we've broken structure. Okay, we've broken structure. Last up candle before the breaking structure. Okay, now we do have this wick here, which price could have come to, but you can see we didn't. So we have this up candle, drop to the 15, and you can see we can refine it to this candle. Now what you can do is keep on the hourly sort of order block and then add the 15-minute order block as well, just so you won't miss trades if price comes into an hourly order block and not a 15. But you know, it's just your preference. We go with green. Yeah, but I'll just keep that as it was. So this is our 15-minute order block because the momentum came in, you know, on this next candle that broke structure. Okay, so you can see after NFP, price came in. So once price come in, you could be looking on your execution time frame and looking to get involved in trades. So I've put this on. I didn't take this, but if I just bring price back to around here. Okay, so once price tapped into the supply zone, you can see we had an immediate reaction where we pushed down and we broke structure. So we had this high, and you know, the lowest point you can see is we had a high, a low, a nice pullback, and then a higher. So this is the point that I would be looking at. Okay, so we've broke structure there. Now once we broke structure, we can be looking at this last up candle or this candle here. It just comes down to your preference. For me, I would be looking at this candle and potentially filtering this wick on a lower time frame. But you can see price didn't come back, and then we broke structure again. So what I would do in this scenario is void this area and then just be looking at this next breaking structure, as you can see here. Okay, so we broke structure again, and what I'll be doing is looking at this last up candle here. I wouldn't take into consideration this little candle because it would have worked out, but you can over refine it. I would rather take this sort of little range, and because we have a range and then an initiation out, so it's likely price will need to come back to this range before continuing. So you can see that's what happened. So last up candle, this would be your entry, you know, on that low of the order block. Stop loss above, you know, around 3 pips, maybe 2.5, and then this is the trade. So let me just run it forward. I don't think you would have got taken out break even, no. And then this is very common after a news candle where we just see price gradually gravitate and correctively move back down. So, you know, it is a good trade to take, but again, after news and being a Friday, I'd rather leave it, honestly. So this is where price is. So you can see that a refined 15-minute order block. And also now that we've rebalanced sort of this move here, it's looking good for price to potentially come back down. So let's talk about the entry. So once price sort of makes its way down, you know, it may be a few hours until price can get into this area. So it may be on a Tuesday where we can see an entry. But will I take shorts, selling opportunities coming into this area? The answer is yes, I will take sells. But what I will need to see is ideally on the 15-minute, a nice breaking structure, you know, breaking these lows, a nice clear break, and then, you know, I'll be looking at that area to get involved in some sells. Now, obviously it depends how markets open, but I will be waiting for a nice clean break. Now this may push back up to this area, and if that's the case, then I'll just be waiting for price to actually show me what it wants to do before, you know, getting involved in any trades. But we may see some shorting opportunities coming back into this level, and then we can look to get long from here. Now once price comes into this area, then I'll be dropping to my execution time frame and be looking for that change in shift, breaks in structure, clear of liquidity, and I'll be looking to get involved on those breaks in structure. Because if we go back to the hourly, in my opinion, we are bullish because we've broken structure to the upside. We have tapped into this supply, so we could see a pullback to this area and then look to get long from here. But we need to wait for confirmation. This could push up from here, and if this did push up from here, then I will be looking to get long, on that newly created sort of demand zone here. But it needs to be clean. It needs to show me, that it wants to go long. But yeah, I do believe this will just keep retracing back down. But we'll see on Monday really. So that's going to do it for EU. Let's get into GU next. Okay, so on GU now, I've marked out some points of interest where I want to get long from, looking into next week. So again, we have NFP here, which also broke structure and came back up to revisit this imbalance bit of price action here that we see last week that also broke structure. So we see a nice reaction. Now I did say to one of the members prior to this that we may see a reaction from this wick here, as we did, and there was some entries within this if that's something that you're looking to take after NFP. For me personally, it's not something that I want to take, but you can see how price moves. It's come into that zone, respected it, and then moved off. But coming into next week, my first point of reference is going to be this area here. So I will look to get long from here. Obviously, we have the imbalance on this candle, so we're seeing price currently retrace that candle. We're at that 50% mark, and I will look to be getting long from this area here. So once price comes in, that's when I'll be looking at my lower time frames and just looking for that, because once price comes in, we'll be looking, we'll see lower lows and lower highs on our lower time frame. So I want to see that shift from weak to strong hands, breaking structure, and mitigations, a clear of liquidity, and the drill. We'll be looking to get long from there. So so once price comes in, I don't believe price will, we may see price come down as low as this, but if we take a closer look at what's going on, we have a breaking structure here, but we also have this wick here. Okay, so we had this bullish candle, we then pulled off, and we was bearish on this candle for a little while, and then we did close back up bullish, and then we broke structure. Now we do have an order block here. I wouldn't fully class this as a mitigation, but we do have a wick. So from my experience, once we see this, don't get me wrong, price can still come back into this and go long from here, but I'm looking at price, it's looking efficient to some degree. We have a little bit, but I'm not going to disregard this area, but I'm just going to be aware that price may not need to come down to here, and we may see price go long from here, because it also makes sense for price to come down to this imbalance where it started, refill this news candle, because that's all it is, it's just news, and it's a way of banks covering their sort of move to rebalance any price, and using the news at the same time, if that makes sense. So I will look to get long from here. We may come down, form equal lows, sweep the lows, come into here on a lower time frame, and then look to go long from there. So that's the game plan. if we, so last week we can mark on this wick here, because you know there's always something inside a wick, you know, on a lower time frame. So when you see a wick, even this here, it's going to be an order block on, well, more times than not it's going to be an order block or a point of reference on a lower time frame. Okay, so keep that in mind. There's always something within wicks. But if we just take price to the 15, okay, actually let's go to the 1. Okay, so once price came into this supply, was there any entries to take? Okay, so we can see we have a build of liquidity here, you know, clear range, initiation out, so we broke structure, there, so we could be looking to get short from here, you know, last up candle, but price didn't come back to that area. So where will be the next point? Well, we can look at here, we did break structure, quite a subtle break, but it is a breaking structure, you know, nonetheless. So put that on. Now where did price start from that caused the break? Well, this is the last up candle here, so we can look at this as our order block. Now you could say this is hindsight trading, but we broke structure and price started to move from this candle here, and this is the last up candle. Okay, so you can enter on the base, but you can see, look, our stop loss would need to be, to cover this high, you know, around 4 pips. So if I was taking this trade, then I would be looking at the EQ, and you know, you may have got stopped out. I would have personally, because I would be having, you know, around a 2.5 pip stop loss, and you know, we wicked out before continuing. And then you can see we did start to push down from here. Now there is some scaling trades, but I won't get into that. But yeah, this is where price currently is. But yeah, going into next week, I want to try and see some nice reaction from this area, and I will be looking to get long from there. But if we, it all depends how price comes into this level. If it comes, you know, super aggressive and pulls through it, then you know it's not valid to be looking long, because there's no shift in momentum. Having these demand levels or supply levels is good, but it's all about how price is delivered into them. You know, that's going to tell us or give us a really good idea of where price is going to respect it or just pull through it. Okay, so that's the game plan for GU. Looking long from here, but if I just go back to the 15, we can take sells into these, you know, higher time frame sort of points of reference. So we haven't got to always be waiting for, you know, price to come in. We can take sells into the levels, if you know what I mean. So if we look at this move here, we have a breaking structure. I know that it's on market close, but it is still a breaking structure. We do have a last up candle here that we can be looking at, just gone off it. So coming down to the 1, it's looking, you know, a bit messy on market close, but we have a broken structure, so price could come back in and then go short from there. But as we get to sort of Monday morning, price may be down here, but if it's not, then I will be on the 15 just looking, you know, for breaks in structure, and I will sell into this level, but it depends on how price is. It needs to be like a very clear, you know, and precise setup. But you know, overall looking bullish, and yeah, we'll see how this develops going into next week. Okay, so now we're on Aussie dollar, and we have sort of the same thing, because we are looking at, you know, all dollar pairs, so they are similar in some regard. So if we just start off with last week, we had this move here, which I took advantage of, and I know a few of you did as well. So I know I've done a case study on this, but we broke structure to the upside, and this gives us, you know, our order block and our higher low where we look to get long from. So breaking structure, we pushed back. There was a trade within here that I missed. We then pushed up, retraced, we got the next entry, because if we look at this, we had a tap into this level, but only slightly. So this does not mitigate, this is not mitigated for my trading plan. I always look to see the 50% of any order block to be mitigated, and if that 50% has been mitigated, then I disregard this as valid for, you know, future price action. So you can see that here, and it's a great example of it. So we tapped in, but then we came back to tap in again. We mitigate, you know, around 60%, and then once price came back into it again, you can see how, you know, it's not respected. Okay, so that's a little tip. The 50% is a good area to look for, you know, your mitigations, and whether or not you keep it valid, or, you know, you void it. Okay, so we took a missed trade, and then we took a 13R on this second tap in, and you can see we pushed up, but we just formed equal highs, and we didn't really, you know, continue bullish from there. We had equal highs. You can see price swept that equal highs, bit of liquidity before continuing down. Okay, so this is where we are now. We had an impulsive move, which, you know, has imbalance from these wicks. So you can see the wicks aren't matching up. So we have a lot of selling pressure, you know, within this sort of area here. Okay, as I'm sure you can all see. So price has pushed up, rebalancing. We have NFP here, of course. Now, if you're looking at this as, you know, potential entries, so we have a push up, and you may be looking at this as a breaking structure, but it comes down to asking yourself, what has it actually broken? Because if we look at price, we have a lower low, and our lower high is all the way, you know, back up here. So anything within this is just substructure. So we have a pullback, but price does not break below this level here, so it does not put in a new lower low. Now this is a breaking structure, but it's a sub break, and it doesn't hold as much weight, because it's just breaks of structure within larger structure. So you can still trade this, you know, on maybe 15-minute breaks of structure, because you can see that this would be the last down candle. Price came back in before, you know, NFP. But if we go to the 15, we can also see we can refine it down, and, you know, price tapped in, but it's not really something that I look to take. I'm also looking at hourly direction, hourly breaks in structure, and then refining it down from there. But it comes down to your own trading plan and, you know, what you've tested. Okay, so price come up. Now I've marked on this wick because, as we already know, wicks are just order blocks on a lower time frame. So if I drop to the 5, we probably will see, yeah, so you see a bullish candle which led to, you know, the breaking structure. Okay, price came into that level, and there wasn't really, you could be looking for sells in here, but I won't get into it because it is a bit messy. Price come up just above it, and, you know, it's just sort of now going to starting to range, and we can expect price to potentially come back down. But how I will go about entering this is, what we may see is a push down. We may get a high, and, you know, something like this, we may see a new higher high, which would give us a new higher low breaking structure, and I'll be looking to get short from this area here. But it needs some time. I do believe it will push down back to eventually back to these levels here, but it could take a few days to get here. But yeah, I will take sales coming down, so we may see a push down, a pullback, push down, breaking structure, and I'll be looking at that to get short. But it needs time. I'm not going to be rushing into anything that's not clear. I only want to trade higher probability setups, and if I don't get them, then I'll just wait a day or so, and then just wait for them great trades, because we only really need a couple trades. I know you can get a lot of trades on lower time frames, like the 1 minute, trading continuations and order flow, but I'm talking more so on the higher time frames. We only really need a couple. Like even this trade here, that'll be a missed trade and then a 13R in one trade, which didn't even break structure. So there's a lot of opportunity. So yeah, don't get FOMO and just wait for your setups, and yeah, be patient. It's all about patience, because there's a lot of trades within the week. You just need to be continuing with your forecasting and staying prepared, and you'll get involved in some trades. Now, if you're new to the strategy and you aren't quite getting it, that's completely normal. Like, it's not easy. It's only easy when you've learned it, and a lot of other people, they have to go through a good few months before it starts to click. But I've seen quite a few people that have come to me, and they're now getting it and it's clicking for them. So if you're not quite there, keep going with it, and yeah, you will pull through to it, because once you see it, and why price is moving from where it is, you'll never unsee it. Okay, so that's going to do it for my 3 pairs. If you have any questions about any other pairs you're looking at, then shoot me a DM or send it through to the Discord community, and I can look at them pairs for you and break them down, and yeah, go from there. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you all have a really good rest of your weekend, and yeah, let's have a great week in the markets.